What's up, everybody? It's your girl, the Biblio Geek, and I'm back again with another book review. Okay, um, first of all, I just wanted to say it's a quiet day today. It's Sunday. It feels like Sunday. It's not Sunday. It's actually Labor Day. It's Monday. That's to show you how out of it I am. It's a really quiet day today. I've been up since early this morning in my garden pulling weeds, cutting trees back, and all kind of stuff. Basically finishing up the work I started yesterday. So I'm just kind of chilling today, but I had this book that I read a couple of weeks ago, and I've been meaning to do a review, and things have just been crazy. Last weekend I worked on a habitat house, and after I got finished with all that hard work, I came home and got into bed, and I stayed in the bed until it was time to go back to work. So I didn't get a chance to put together my thoughts or my notes or anything like that, but I'm gonna get to it. All right. Okay, so today we're talking about this book here, Washington Black by Edugyan, and I hope I am saying her name right. If Miss Essie, if you get a hold of this video, listen, I have a Nigerian name, and I know my name is Yoruba, and listen, I know what it's like for people to mispronounce your name and how frustrating it is, and I apologize. If you see this video and I am saying your name wrong, holla at me, let me know how to say your name. All right, so anyway, boop, this is the book, Washington Black. All right, okay, so let's get started. All right, so this book is about this, I guess he's 10 or 11-year-old boy. All right, and his name is George Washington Black. Okay, and he is a slave born on the Faith Plantation. Dig that. The plantation is called Faith. Check that out. Anyway, so the Faith Plantation is in Barbados. And brief note, England loved Barbados. Okay, later years, after slavery had already started, folks in England were saying that Barbados was the richest spot of ground in the world. Okay, written in Old English, so E on the end of spot and E on the end of world. I got a gnat in here. I'm sorry. If you see a gnat flying around, I'm going to get it. So keep in mind also that the plantations in the Caribbean were known for extra cruelty and barbarism, so much so to the fact that slave owners were coming from the south of the United States to the Caribbean to get tutored, if you will, on how to control their own slaves or whatnot. Kind of like a massa mentor, if you will. Anyway, so when the book opens, it's 1830, and Wash is about 10 or 11 years old, like I said before, and his first master dies. Okay, so this becomes a source of worry because they don't know who is going to replace him, because, this massa was kind of good to them. He's a good massa, as massas go. He only beat them on Tuesdays or whatever, let them spend all Christmas Day till about 8 o'clock with their loved ones dancing and drinking and playing the banjo or whatever. Okay, I'm making that up, but you understand what I'm saying. So anyway, Wash was what would now be referred to in Texas textbooks as a field hand. According to him in the book, he's been wielding a hoe, since he was 2 years old. Even though his first master said, that he had great hopes for him. So I'm gonna tell you. Hold on, I have a quote. So even though he was born into slavery and he's been basically working in the sugar plantation since he was 2. The first master, the one who dies, tells him that he has great hopes for him. So on page 13, he says, and this might be, it says here it was with great ridicule. So he's teasing him, right? And he tells Wash, he said he glimpsed in me the birth of a nation and a warrior president and a land of sweetness and freedom. So, yeah, it's kind of like, ha ha, you're going to be great one day. Little 2-year-old boy out here, busting up the shift roll and all of that. So, yeah, oh, by the way, yeah, they made toddlers work in the plantation. You didn't know that? Did you know that they made little kids work, little babies, because toddler, 2 years old, that's baby. Yeah. And he even says in the book that when he was 5, I think he says when he was 5, he was gifted a shovel he couldn't even barely pick up, and he was proud of it because he felt like it made him a man. Dig that. Okay, so anyway, so Wash's only family really on the plantation is this woman that they call Big Kit. She is a larger-than-life slave woman who was feared by the other slaves, big and black woman. And she has ties to Dahomey with powers outside of this world. So she is described as a saltwater. And a saltwater means, according to the book on page 7, it says, because of her size and because she was a saltwater, a witch in old Dahomey, before being taken, she was feared. She would sow curses into the dirt beds under the huts. Rooks would be found, eviscerated, hanging in doorways. For 3 weeks, she forcibly took food from a strong smith's apprentice each morning and night and ate it in front of him, scooping with her fingers from his bowl until some understanding was reached between them. In the smoldering field, she would glisten as if oiled, tearing up the wretched earth, humming strange songs under her breath, her flesh rippling. Some nights in the huts she would murmur in her sleep in the low, thick language of her kingdom and cry out. No one ever spoke of that. And in the fields the next day she would be all scorched fury, like a blunt axe, wrecking as much as she reaped. Her true name, she once told me, whispering, was Naui. She had 3 sons. She had had 1 son. She had had no sons, not even a daughter. Her stories changed with the moon. I remember how some days at sunrise she would sprinkle a handful of dirt over her blade and murmur some incantation, her voice husky, as though overcome with emotion. She would suck air through her teeth and squint up her eyes and begin, "When I was royal guard at Dahomey," or "After I crushed the antelope with my hands like this." And I would stop whatever task was at hand and stand listening in wonder. For she was a marvel, witness to a world I could not imagine, beyond the reach of the huts and the vicious fields of faith. Now, just some historical background. Dahomey was a powerful kingdom in and around what is now the country of Benin in West Africa. This Dahomey kingdom was during the 18th and 19th centuries, and they were known for their all-female army, which had grown to be about 6,000 strong by the end of the 19th century. And they were referred to as Amazons. You sometimes hear about the Amazons of Dahomey or the Amazons of West Africa. But that wasn't their original name. Their original name was something out of the Fon language, F-O-N. But they were referred to as Amazons by the Europeans because of their size. So they were kind of compared to the Amazon women of Greek mythology. Amazon warrior women of Greek mythology. Okay, so there's some historical background for you. Okay, so back to Big Kit. Okay, so she had a complicated relationship with Wash. She both loved, protected, and abused him. So it was a very, very strange relationship that she had with Wash. But she protected him from the other slaves. She protected him from the other slaves because immediately, at one point, she took him in because he didn't really seem to have any parents or anything. His beginnings are very vague. and she takes him in as a small child, and he is immediately abused or beat up and mistreated by other slaves who are also living in her cabin. But she protects him. She tells them to stop with this. She says, not this one, she tells them. And they leave him alone, but then she sometimes abuses him as well. So it's kind of complicated. So anyway, this, the two of them, he grows up under her care or whatever, care in quotation marks, and their first master dies. And so they're worried about who's going to come and replace him. And it turns out it's going to be the master's nephew, this guy named Erasmus Wild. Okay. Now, Erasmus is a bastard. All right. Erasmus comes in and he's like, my uncle has been way too nice to you guys. I gotta teach y'all a lesson, and I gotta get y'all under control. So immediately he starts, he brings in like these, they're not even other slave owners. He brings in like these thugs and ex-cons to help him retain order. And immediately he starts with maiming and killing slaves as examples. On page 8, it says, Wash says, I saw men limp into the fields, blood streaming down their legs. I saw women with blood-soaked bandages over their ears. Edward had his tongue cut out for backtalk. Elizabeth was forced to eat from a full chamber pot for not cleaning the previous days thoroughly. James tried to run away, and to make an example of him, the master had an overseer burn him alive as we watched. Afterwards, in the embers of his pyre, an iron was heated, and we filed past the charred horror of him, one by one, and were branded a second time.